Hi, beautiful friends. Oh, I'm floating on such a high right now. I was just listening to my favorite band, Jungle, and it's 11:11 here, so there. Jungle is my favorite band. If you guys haven't heard of them, you need to check them out. I mean, I shared a couple of their videos on Soul Space recently. They're so good. It's just such a groove. It's so positive. And the videos are all dance-based, and they're like primo. Anyway, okay. So I'm here to talk to you today about the divine feminine and the divine masculine reclamation, aka the return of the angels and the dragons. And I'm really excited to dive into this. So, hi Zane. Hey man, hey brother. Okay, so first of all, I just want to get out of the way sort of the the arguments, the conversations that are being had in the public sphere lately around like feminine and masculine, male and female, gender being a construct and all that stuff. And I want to talk about, I just want to preface this by saying that we all carry feminine and masculine energy. So this conversation has nothing to do with the body parts that you were born with. Every one of us has access to both the feminine and the masculine energies, and it plays out differently and in different proportions for each and every individual. And in the conversations right now, like in the world stage, there is a lot of chicanery happening around, who gets to call themselves what, and self-identification and all that. And I really don't want to go into that. I want to say that whoever you authentically are, I fucking love you and I respect you and I support you. And, if you want to let me know how you identify and how you prefer to be addressed and related to, I am so happy to support that. So none of these conversations are around that. And I want to say that gender roles are 100% a construct. And I think at this point we can all agree that just because you're born with male body parts doesn't mean that you have to be tough and be the provider. You might be a very soft, poetic, psychic soul. You might be a dancer. You might be, very scientific, whatever, right? If you're a female, it doesn't mean that you have to be in the kitchen pumping out babies, but you also can be. You can be all, all of that is a construct. Gender roles are a social construct. But feminine and masculine energy are part of they're like the first two breakoffs, the first two polarizations. So in the second dimension of consciousness, as I understand it, is the first dimension of consciousness is the first most powerful I am declaration by the source, the oneness, all that is. And it is source decides what that is, so how to complete that statement. I am, in this case, it might be I am the light, right? And the second dimension of consciousness is the dimension of harmonics, couples, polarity, pairs, opposites. And so it's like the first breakaway from a oneness. It is where, I'm getting a message and it's distracting me. It is where the source, monad, supreme consciousness being, separates into two different vibrations that move together in concert, in harmony. It is kind of like the yin and the yang, the two pieces complete the circle. And everything in all dimensions of reality stem from the masculine and the feminine. They also stem from the dark and the light. There are many, many polarities. So often the masculine is considered to be associated with a positive polarity, but that doesn't mean that they are superior or better, or that they are exclusively the light. And the feminine is the negative polarity. And the reason being is that the masculine energy tends to be an outward moving energy. It is more direct, more It's an outward projection energy. You could say it's a giving energy. All of these words, as I reach for them, I'm just aware that they are laced with confusing connotations. But hopefully you understand what I mean. Whereas the feminine is more of a receptive energy, and that's the negative polarity. So when I use positive and negative, I don't mean good versus bad, or that the masculine is the good energy, or like the benevolent energy, and the feminine is the evil energy. Nothing like that. It's that these two energies have to go together. They are the two essential parts of the whole, and we all carry them. So I want to talk about some characteristics of the masculine energy and characteristics of the feminine energy in terms of the divine. We all play around in and embody and emulate characteristics of the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine by virtue of being born in this world that, is subject to a false matrix overlay and much, much, much trauma and programming. But we all are directly, personally, individually connected to the primordial divine masculine, the primordial divine feminine energies, and we resource from them to create the wholeness of who we individually are. So divine masculine characteristics, as they play out through human beings, would be, the examples of the divine masculine would be the sacred protector, the sacred guardian, who would lay down his life. He would offer his life. He would be the first, words. He would be like, if there was some force coming in to threaten the divine feminine and the child, the divine masculine would, the divine masculine would offer himself up first to protect that which is sacred and that which is holy, not because he is not sacred and holy, but because it is a fulfillment of his role and his energy. He is also the beautiful structure that gives us safety, that gives us predictability. So, it's almost impossible to talk about the divine, either of their characteristics, separate from the other. So I think I'm just going to weave this all together. So somebody shared with me once, my friend Christina shared with me once, that the divine feminine, she is the one that taps into the imaginal realms and dreams up a vision for the future. And then she gives it to the divine masculine, and he, with reverence and adoration for her, takes her dream and starts assembling it to bring it into reality. And again, understand that I'm not talking about women are the only dreamers and visionaries and men are just the ones who create the dreams because they adore women so much. I'm saying that the divine feminine aspect of any of us is the dreamer, is the visionary. That the divine feminine can be present with the mysteries, the sacred mysteries. That's also why she is associated with the negative polarity. She is the void space. She has a connection to the void space, all that cannot ever be defined, that cannot ever be known, no matter how hard we try, no matter how much we science. There are aspects of this universe that we will never know, no matter how much we psychic. There are aspects of this reality that we will never know, and the divine feminine is those realities. The divine masculine is that which we can sort of pin down and understand. The divine feminine aspect is the part that dreams up, that travels through the corridors of time, down the halls of the past and forward down the halls of the future, and can divine and sort of prophecy. She is the visionary because that is the realm of the void space. And then she gives it to the divine masculine, who is the one that brings it down into this moment, into this now moment, and starts to construct it and turn it into a manifested reality. The divine masculine is, so when I talk about these geometric pre-matter templates that I see in the sixth dimension, they're these, beautiful, let's just say that it's like a Sri Yantra, okay? That's just one of the sacred geometric template shapes. So let's say that we're dreaming up like a reality that is so beautiful. It's got a house, it's got a car, it's got great friends and great food and beautiful sunsets, and it's got, a lot of agency and freedom and sovereignty and power. It's got magic, it's got surprises, it's this beautiful life. And let's say the pre-matter geometric template of that dream is a Sri Yantra. The divine masculine is the lines that forms the Sri Yantra, and the divine feminine is the negative space in between. So as you can see, these energies are just two sides of the same coin, and they are very, very necessary. And why am I talking about this now? Because we are in the process, whether we are actively participating on a conscious level or not. I'm sorry, my tea is so delicious. It's made with fresh garden peppermint, and it's like the perfect temperature right now. Whether we're actively participating right now or not, on a conscious level, we are in the process of reclaiming the divine feminine, the divine masculine, because, there are a lot of conversations especially in the virtual space, but certainly in communities as well, about like patriarchy, bad patriarchy, evil, rah, 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 which is, it is pretty lousy, the patriarchy. And there are a lot of conversations about, like as I have and I share, about the false matrix and all this stuff. And there's a recognition that we are all running under wounding programs, all of us. The patriarchy appears at surface level to prioritize and uphold men above women. But that is a surface level understanding of the patriarchy. The patriarchy is a system that is created to wound men and women, males and females, and pit us against each other. And in order to do so, there had to be like a veneer, an impression created that men are favored and upheld. This was particularly predominant, in decades past, and now things are evening out a little bit, if you could even call it evening out. The pendulum is swinging the other way. And women were, feeling downtrodden. Like the whole Roe versus Wade thing was meant to just stir that whole pot up all over again. This idea that men have, they have it good, that our greatest enemy is straight, white, like males of Christian heritage in the Western world, able-bodied males. That's such a surface level bullshit view of what's actually happening. And I think the reason that I've always been able to connect with this is because my firstborn child is, as far as I understand, he has a girlfriend, so he's a straight, white, able-bodied male, I guess from a Christian background. I didn't raise him Christian, but I'm from a Christian background. I was raised Unitarian. Anyway, and I could see right from the get-go, as I beheld this brand newborn baby and this infant that was growing, and it's happening again as I watch William grow up, I could see that he is not responsible for all of this, that actually this is something that he is inheriting, just as the rest of us inherited. And as long as we play into the narratives created by these systems, we stay fragmented and we stay in a state of victimizer, like in that axis of energetic play out. And we're stuck there. We can't manifest outside of that. So we continue to manifest more and more circumstances that reflect that axis back to us. Well, really what we need to recognize is that the divine masculine is equally wounded. How wounding is it? How fucking wounding is it to tell one group that by virtue of who they were born as, they are what's wrong with the world? That they can never understand the oppressed experience. Never mind that, many straight white, able-bodied men born to Christian families have been born into immense trauma, immense trauma, immense, like, dark family lineages, like very, very poor, and this isn't me trying to say that they're the greatest victim. There is no greatest victim group. If we keep talking about victim groups and who's the most oppressed, then it's like we're racing each other to the bottom of the barrel. It's not a constructive conversation at all. So we're all born into a huge amount of wounding. We're born into wounding around the construct of our gender roles, around the way that we are allowed to be, the idea of like what makes somebody an acceptable male or an acceptable female in this culture, in the world. There's so many, I don't want to get stuck on this part, but I'm sure if we look around, we can all see at a deeper level, beyond the surface projection that's created to ensnare us, we can see the ways that everybody is wounded by the patriarchy. Everybody. It is an imbalanced system, and it does not honor the divine masculine. It like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not exalt, but it's the same kind of thing. Like it raises up a certain narrow, very wounded part of the masculine energy and suppresses a very narrow, wounded part of the feminine energy and creates this impression that one gender is favored or one sex is favored over the other. And in fact, it's not that way at all. The divine feminine and the divine masculine are being reclaimed right now. I wish I could do this more eloquently. We are reclaiming it right now because we are reclaiming our right to be in our wholeness and to be reunited with each other in a way that rises above that surface level of wounding, and that surface level of programming, trauma programming that has been projected upon us, that we have all been involuntarily ensnared into. So what this means is, for example, as I reclaim my own divine masculine energy, it is the part of me that can understand things from a rational, logical, grounded level. It's the part of me that, can that can understand scientific explanations, that can have rational arguments, that can compartmentalize emotion and translate experiences through the rational mind. That's a divine masculine trait. The divine feminine, equally important, is the one who's understanding things through intuition, through inspiration, through psychic communication, through sort of those wordless forms of understanding, the felt, internalized understandings. Both of those are equally important. We are reclaiming our ability to vision freely and to be in the mysteries and not have to fucking try and, pull everything up to the surface and understand it. Like, I think it was a Francis Bacon quote, but I remember hearing this. It was so disturbing to me a long time ago about putting Mother Nature on the rack, like the torture rack, and extracting her answers from her or her mysteries from her, whatever. It was to try and understand nature. It's this like greedy kind of energy of like, we must know everything, because there's a part of ourselves that absolutely can't handle the possibility that this one ego that we are identifying with is actually not even real, and that it's going to disappear, and that, you know, like basically it's a fear of death. It's a fear of death that's behind all of this wounding. And the wounded masculine wants to, pull out all of those secrets, forcefully pull them out so that he can tell himself that he is the master of the universe and he knows everything. And the wounded feminine is perpetually in a victim state, seeing her creative reproductive abilities as some kind of punishment, something that's holding her back, some liability, and trying always to overcome it, and you know, throwing the baby without, oh my God, my words today, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, so that she also loses her ability to tap into the psychic giftings that are associated with that ability, with having a literal portal in her womb space. So we're reclaiming our divine feminine and our divine masculine together. We are allowing these elements of ourselves to heal. And essentially what it means, again, I don't want to spend too much time, I've spent a lot of time so far kind of trying to articulate the wounding, but what I'm talking about with reclaiming the divine feminine, the divine masculine, is choosing, actively choosing. This is always about choosing, because this is the realm of free will. Choosing to rise above the victim stories, the axis of victim and victimizer that we've been programmed with beneath the blanket programming of the patriarchy, the system of the patriarchy. And not blaming men for the patriarchy, and men not blaming women for being like crazy bitch feminists, just disengaging from all of that and understanding that that is all a fucking manipulation. It's a manipulation. And every time you play into it, every time you look at somebody in your life and you're, you know, every time you entertain the thought, whether you say it out loud, but like you entertain it. It's one thing if the thought just passes through your mind and you let it go. That shit happens. It happens to me all the time. But it's a whole other thing if you like take that thought and run with it and give it some of your energy. Every time you entertain a thought that like men are all assholes, or, you know, men are kind of boneheads and they aren't like intuitive and they aren't sensitive, or that women are crazy, and or that women are like, women think that they're the only ones who are victimized. Don't get caught up in that shit. It's totally a lie. It's all a lie. And yes, of course it is playing itself out, but it's playing itself out in the realm of our unconsciousness and our unwillingness to disentangle from that, you know, spiderweb matrix that is created for us. And it's also an unwillingness to break the addictive bonds that we have with the chemicals that our body produces as we cycle through those victim stories, through those, like, you know, stories. We have to be willing to just let all that go and reclaim, like, first of all, from sort of the macro perspective, it's like, as women, we need to let go of the grudge and the perception that men have had it so good and women have had it so bad. And I am not saying that that perception is not true. I am, of course, acknowledging that there was an imbalanced, wounded scenario that was seeded and created and has played itself out, wherein women were given, like, you know, an inferior status. So yes, that all happened, and it has happened to us, and we have experienced it. I feel extremely lucky because I am alive at a time where I get to have my own bank account and I get to have my own business, Like, I hardly know anything about it. You know, I need to, like, I'm acknowledging that my grandmothers lived through some shit. Like, some real shit. That women have lived through some real shit. And we have to let it go. We absolutely have to let it go. If we want to move forward in this, we have to let it go. We have to let it go without needing an apology. We have to let it go without needing men to, I don't know, make amends. How they possibly could, I don't know. Because that's the genius of this bullshit system, is that no one man is responsible for this. No one man can be, like, you know, held to account for all that has happened in our own individual lives or in the greater grand scheme of things. Like, I mean, and you might hear me saying this and you might think, oh, well, my father who abused the shit out of me does need to be held accountable. First of all, I hate to say it, but that's not for you to decide. And second of all, do you think your father, this hypothetical father, was just born evil? No, this father was wounded. That does not condone the injustices that were experienced, that were perpetrated, the ways that, you know, individuals have dishonored each other. That doesn't condone it at all. But it's just to say, like, if we're trying to follow the thread of this all the way back to the one who needs to be held to account before we can move forward, we'll never find it, because it's just a big jumble fuck tangle mess. And that's the genius of this system that they've created. That's why so many of us are ensnared. So we are being called to reclaim it. We are being called to understand that the divine feminine, divine masculine are extremely powerful energies. And they move through both of us, through each of us. Both of them move through each of us. And we are also being called to... So when I was channeling the priestess transmissions at the beginning of 2021, one of the messages that came through was the priestesses go first. The priestesses go first. So we decide, like, one of the ways the priestesses go first is we decide to get over it first. Meaning to let it go. Like, what does get over it means? It means let it go. Let it go. Let it be water under the bridge. Let us move on to something different now. Let us stop cycling around in all this density. We go first, the divine masculine follows. The divine feminine goes first, the divine masculine follows. And so we are being called into, again, the reclamation of this, accessing these powers, accessing the way that the divine feminine connects with and receives, like, wordless psychic information and shares it with the divine masculine, who then, brings it down and... how do I say it? Like, gives it structure, gives it form so that it can exist here. The divine feminine is like the soft receptive that allows things to come through. The divine masculine is the holy defender that, because he is on guard, the divine feminine can be in that relaxed receptive state. She doesn't have to be on guard because he's on guard. They're working together. And especially at this time where I'm receiving these messages about, the different superpowers that we have that are coming online, and the next steps for those of us that resonate with, like, being born on purpose and having a mission that we're here to fulfill. It's very important that we be willing to see all these themes as separate from us, even though we have lived them out in our own individual lives. It's like understanding that it really is the duality of understanding yourself as human and understanding yourself as greater than human. And so being able to understand, like, oh, all of those wounded themes that have played out belong to the human realm. They belong to the human collective consciousness, but they aren't actually mine. And so I can come here and I can see them and I can let it go. Because it's not actually mine, and it never was, and it was never a reflection of my soul. And it's none of my business if it was a reflection of the other person's soul. It doesn't matter. that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. I can let it go. I can release it, and I can move on to step into the fullness of my power and the lucidity of who I actually am, which then frees you up to emancipate yourself from the false matrix and to start sourcing from that divine feminine field, the Rishi field, and the divine masculine Rishi field, and start pulling that energy into this reality, filtering it through the elemental consciousness, syncing up with the elemental consciousness and those fields, and bringing that energy into this realm, into this reality. You can't see me, but I'm like bringing it in and like molding and sculpting that and creating. It is sorcery. It is sorceresses. It is sorcerers. It is, like a super fucking powerful, dope avatar level consciousness that allows us to like, see the wounded narratives play out and hear them playing out in our relationships around us and feel completely separate from it, and to be able to source from a field that is so much more powerful than that and is furthermore not hijacked. And this leads me into a realization I had just a few days ago about the return of the dragons and the return of the angels, which is one lens through which to understand the reclamation of the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies. So I'm working with somebody privately he is like really powerful, really, really powerful, total master level consciousness, and is just like working on bringing his conscious mind into sync with that, that mastery that his soul has obtained through many, 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 many incarnations. And one of the things that I realized about him through working with him and tuning into his Akashic field is that he is a dragon. And this helped me to understand. So you'll know probably that I've been connecting with the dragons and connecting with the angels for quite a while, and like kind of getting it, but it's almost like there was a missing piece. Like, what? Dragons? What? I understand the angels more because I am of the angelic field. I'm not really a dragon. So in working with him, I came to understand like, the dragons are more of the divine masculine energy. You don't have to be a man to embody dragon energy, but it's more of a leading with a divine masculine energy. And the dragons they're built in this way where they build up a strong charge in their field. And then they tend to unleash it in a very focused way that can appear at surface level as being very destructive. But we're at a time where a certain amount of destruction is necessary. And I say this with like so much caution. Please know, I am not talking about arson. I am not talking about like vandalizing or rioting. None of that. I am saying that there are beings in my audience who are listening to me, who the way that you are built is to draw a lot of energy up into your field and kind of bank it until you something triggers a laser focus in you, and all of a sudden you unleash that charge very powerfully. And it often involves the process of like just burning shit down. Again, I'm saying that metaphorically, not literally arson, but it's just like just flat out. It's kind of like destroying what needs to be destroyed. And then the angelic energy, the angels, are the ones who come in and repattern and recode everything. So it's a different way of working with energy. It's a much gentler way of working with energy, and it's more towards the feminine, the divine feminine, an expression of. But again, you can be a man. I've met men, beautiful, strong, powerful men who are more of the angelic field, and they tend to be here to do the repatterning process. And I do believe that we can embody both. I think I have a small amount of dragon energy in me. It's just not the forward facing energy. But I have met people too who have both in them. They have that that dragon sort of fury. It's like a righteous anger, a righteous fury that, again, like focuses the power of their energy and allows it to just like laser in on something and create a result. I'm like trying to come up with examples. So an example might be when you, like, if you tend to more have a dragon energy, let's just say that, you know, like you've built up a charge unbeknownst to you. You've got a big charge, electromagnetic charge in your field. And then you, I don't know, somebody at work just pisses you off. It's just like, it's always just like, and that person just gets you on the wrong day, like crosses the line one too many times, and you have this huge, powerful charge built up. You might be the type of person that causes, like when they're using the microwave to warm up their lunch at work, your energy focused by your, irritation would be the kind to potentially like blow out the light bulb in the microwave. Or, like you could feel like you cause somebody to come and, accidentally like run into their car in the parking lot and like take out their taillight or something like that, right? And like you're not purposely doing it, but you kind of like raise your eyebrow a few times. You're like, did I do that? It's that kind of thing. It totally can be used towards manifestation. I've seen people doing it where they just build up this huge charge and then they focus it towards their manifestation outcome, their desired outcome. And, when they have a good control over it, it goes in the direction they want it to go. And the thing that they want manifests like that. It's so fast. The angelic energy is like when you just know that you tend to heal and recode and repattern quietly, gently. You just, emit these healing frequencies, these almost like rebuilding. So the divine masculine is sort of, it's both, like the dragon is both the destruction and the new manifestation. And the angelic energy is like softening it all out and recoding it properly and making sure that it's patterned properly, everything is healed. It's more of the rebuilding energy. Anyway, I don't know how good this live was because it's so hard to talk about the divine feminine, divine masculine for me. It's very, very, very challenging. I should have known better than to try it, but I really wanted to because I just feel all these people in my field who are ready to get over this bullshit, who are just ready to leave it behind and step into the reclamation of our power, the reclamation of our wholeness, the reclamation of what we can actually do here, and the reunion of that divine masculine energy and the divine feminine energy and all that we can create when we are back in unison with each other, when we are honoring and exalting the masculine feminine within us and within each other and within the world at large. Let me know if I even got, I don't know if any of this landed at all or if I just totally butchered it. Who knows? But I did my best. The hardest thing, it's really interesting. I mean, when I felt that transmission come through in the priestess transmissions about we need to, it's like we need to retire the old scripts. And this was directed specifically towards the women, but this is a message for the men as well. Like, we all need to retire the script. It's over, guys. It's over. It's done. It's long been over. We are the ones that are continuing to perpetuate it because it's what we're used to. But when I got that transmission of oh, that script is done. Like that play, that theater production, whatever, that's over. And I need to put that script down and pick up a new script now. That was really transformative for me. And that one, I don't know, for whatever reason, that one really, really landed. And I took that to heart and I was able to start applying it right away. And every time I kind of caught myself going into like old stories about like, oh, men do this or Alex does that or whatever, or like resentments about like past partners or anything like that, I was able to catch myself pretty quick and be like, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're not cycling around in that, shit anymore. But it's been interesting to me through the various priestess related offerings that I've had to see how hard that has been for some of the women, how hard it has been to let it go. But I'm imploring you, it's not, that's all imaginary. I don't know. It's like, it literally is like waking up from a dream and being like, oh my God, I hated that person in my dream. Holy shit, it was just a dream. It doesn't mean anything about your soul. Tap into the level of your soul consciousness that is much higher than this human. Like if it helps you to tap into your Pleiadian consciousness, your Sirian consciousness, your Lyran consciousness, if it helps you to tap into your, your like your Andromedan consciousness, your Mantid consciousness, your Christos consciousness, whatever level of consciousness, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, up from a higher vantage point where you can look down at all this and be like, oh man, none of that's about me. Like all of these scenarios belong to the oversoul. And furthermore, this is true even of karma, of all the karma that we've ever had. Guess what? It's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. It's not yours. You don't have any ownership over it. You don't have to clean it up. It belongs to the oversoul. And the oversoul is in the process of cleaning it up right now. That's why we're seeing all this insanity happen. The best thing you can do is just sort of detach from it and move out of the way and let it process through you. Let the emotions that it triggers like come up, well up, move through you. Don't suppress them. Don't pull it together. Just cry. Just rage, whatever, move the energy through you. And then when it's done, when the catharsis is complete, just let it go. It wasn't yours. It's not yours. You are so powerful. Until you clean this shit out of your field, you can't actually anchor in those higher dimensional aspects of yourself anyway. Because you're still playing according to stories that they take up too much room in your field, in your consciousness field. They take up too much room in your body and your aura. And what do they do? They're tired. It's done. We're not actually enhanced or amplified by it anymore. It's over. We've got to let it go. We've got to let it go. You don't need the other person to apologize. You don't need the other person to make amends. Who cares? It's not like the other person doesn't go first. You go first. You go first. You decide that you are better than that and you deserve more than that and you are way more powerful than that experience led you to believe. And you start anchoring into your immense power, your immense divine feminine power, your immense divine masculine power. We need you. Sacred brothers, we fucking need you. We need you. We need you to step up and step in and be all that you're coded to be. When I look at my sons, especially William, because he's a baby, I'm like, damn, he is coded so powerfully. He is a very masculine being. He's very masculine. And he's coded so powerfully. And I see his divinity. It hasn't gotten entangled with the collective consciousness patriarchy bullshit yet. You carry that seed within you, sacred brother. And sacred sister, I mean, you fucking know you carry that seed within you. You know that you're powerful. You don't need the patriarchy to, bow to you. But guess what? It is going to bow to us. It is. But we have to go first. And we're not going to force it to bow in a destructive sort of ego-based way. We are going to step into and occupy our divinity at such a level of internal knowing that all the imbalances in the collective human field are going to cry. They're going to crumble and weep and suddenly feel the burden of the pain and the illusion that they have been functioning under for so long. And it is going to cry to receive the embrace and the mercy and the grace and the forgiveness and the love of the Divine Mother, of the Divine Feminine. How do we bring that down into this realm? We embody it. We embody it. I hope that you can receive the harmonic frequencies that I'm transmitting that go beyond my words, that allow you to connect with the power that I am connecting with, that we all hold within us. And I hope that you feel the call to step into it now and embody it now. We are so much bigger. I remember seeing once that our human little broken ego wounded selves are like Lego figures compared to the magnitude of the truth that we are. But we have to choose to bring that in and anchor it into this realm through our hormones, our chemicals, our thoughts, our emotions, through our tissues and our cells and our molecules and our atoms and our subatomic particles. This is holy work. This is important work. And the time has come to let go of all of those old false paradigms and truly step in to what we actually are here to be and do. Okay, my sacred sisters and brothers, and of course, all of you beautiful beings who just actually don't even vibe with identifying with the divine feminine or masculine. I love you too, and I see you too. Gotta go. I have my 12-12 call with my amazing 12-12 group. If you want to just be part of the activation of these energies, I am enrolling for Sorcery, the Answer. It begins on August 27th. It is going to be 5 powerful months of not only transmissions, but integrated, applicated work around being a portal keeper, a Stargate keeper, a grid worker, around becoming a channel, light language activations, discovering your archetype, discovering, meeting and connecting with your soul guides, your spirit guides, your galactic aspects, your angelic aspect, your dragon aspect, any other aspects that are there, your higher self, meeting your avatar self, connecting all the way up into the 13th dimension and beyond, probably into the 16th dimension, clearing out your chakras, clearing out implants, seals, tags, gate locks, activating a whole bunch of accessory chakras that I found recently that really make a huge, huge difference. It's going to be everything. Like if you want like a deeply immersive crash course where on the other side of this, you're like a whole entire changed person, then this is for you. And I invite you to step in. And if you really resonate with being an angelic or a dragon, and you just want to go all the way in, I am enrolling. I'm opening 12/12 for re-enrollment in October. It is my highest level offering. It's my closest touch offering. We meet every single week, dive deep into love. It's a very tight group. And everybody in 12/12 automatically gets to be in Sorcery the Answer. So if that is of interest to you, if either of those are of interest to you, drop me a message and we'll chat about it. Otherwise, I love you all, and I will see you again tomorrow for another live. Blessings, my friends.